Sri Sathya Sai Lok Seva Gurukulam online classes in science. A very interesting chapter called materials around us. In that, metal and non-metals. Are you all ready? Okay, be happy and make others happy. Okay, come on, give a smile. You know how to smile? Okay, give a smile. Means you must be happy, that's the meaning. And get your pens and books ready. You note down some of the important equations. Okay, and let us just see what we have studied in the previous class. Our study on this chapter started with the metals and non-metals in daily life. Come on, can you give some examples of metals that you use in daily life? Yes, you have seen about copper, correct? So copper vessels are there. And also you have seen about gold, ornaments are there, correct? Of course, ornaments are made with alloys of gold, but majority are gold only. You have silver, also you have aluminum, etc. These are called metals. And of course, you may come across with a lot of alloys, what you call. What are alloys? Alloys are homogeneous mixture of metals with a metal or metals with non-metal. For example, brass is an alloy, bronze is an alloy, steel, the stainless steel what you see, they are all called alloys. And of course, they contain metals. And can you tell some of the names of non-metals? The air we breathe is oxygen, is a non-metal. Then you have hydrogen and a gas that is abundant in nature, nitrogen, etc., etc. These are called non-metals. And if you come to solids, you have sulfur, phosphorus, carbon, you see daily life. So these are some of the examples of metals. Okay. Also we have studied about some property of metals, physical properties. One of the famous property called malleability. What is malleability? Malleability is a property when metals on heating, they can be beaten into sheets. The property of melting the metals and beaten into sheets is called malleability. And also ductility is a property of metals. When they are heated, they are drawn into wires. That property is called ductility. Also you have seen some special property called sonoricity, especially bells and gongs, that sound, vibrating sound, it's called sonoricity. And also you have seen some metals are lustrous in nature. For example, you have gold. Gold is having shining luster, and silver also. They are very much shining. In copper also, they got shining luster. Okay. And also we know that most of the metals are solids. Can you name the metal which is a liquid? Yes, it is mercury. Mercury is a liquid metal. Can you name a liquid non-metal? Forgotten. It's a bromine. Bromine is a liquid non-metal. So, non-metals exist in all the three states of matter, in a solid state, in liquid state and gaseous states. So, bromine is a liquid non-metal. Coming to chemical properties of metals, we have seen that metals and non-metals both react with oxygen, most of them, and they form what is called as oxides. If sodium is heated with oxygen, it forms sodium oxide, potassium, potassium oxide, calcium, calcium oxide, like that, magnesium, magnesium oxide. And some of the metals react with water, some with cold water. Example, sodium with cold water reacts very rigorously, forming sodium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Some react with hot water and some react with steam. For example, iron react with steam, forming hydrogen gas. So, some of them don't react with water at all. Non-metals, of course, don't have any reaction with metals, with the water. So, these are the things we have already studied. Now, let us try to answer the home assignment. What happens when magnesium burns in air or oxygen? Have you seen magnesium, how it is? It is in ribbon form. We call it as ribbon, magnesium ribbon. It is like this. You have to cut a piece of this magnesium and you have to heat it in the candle or the spirit lamp or the Bunsen burner. What happens? Magnesium burns with a dazzling white color. Of course, all of you are very familiar with the Deepavali crackers, correct? There will be one type of cracker which gives a dazzling light. Dazzling means what? Very difficult to see. The shining will be very bright. And what does it form? It forms magnesium oxide. So, magnesium plus oxygen gives magnesium oxide is a reaction. This is a white powder. And what kind of oxide it is? It is a basic oxide. How do you know? Suppose if you dissolve it in water and bring a litmus paper, red litmus becomes blue, which shows that this magnesium oxide is a basic oxide. So, also most of the metals react with the oxygen, forming respective oxides, and all the oxides of metals are called basic oxides, except aluminum. Aluminum oxide is called amphoteric oxide. Okay, so this is the answer for the first question. Coming to second question, what happens when iron is exposed to moist air? There was another question like this, same type. Come on, let me see who will answer. So, let us answer this first. When iron is exposed to moist air, a brown color layer called rust is formed. So, iron plus water, okay, plus oxygen, that is oxygen is compulsory. It forms ferric oxide, and that is what is called as rust. Okay, so it is a brown color layer. The same question can be asked in another way. Why does iron get rusted only in rainy season? This rusting will not take place in summer. Answer is only in presence of moist air. This iron becomes iron oxide, hydrated iron oxide. Okay, because it contains 2 molecules of water. So, and how to avoid its rusting? That is by, you might have heard about sandpaper, brushing with the hand sandpaper and then painting it, okay, or giving some coating of metals, etc., etc. Here is another interesting question. Sodium is always kept in kerosene. Why? Sodium is a very reactive metal, reacts with air also. And what happens if it reacts with air? It forms sodium oxide. It reacts with the water also. It forms sodium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. It reacts vigorously with water. And that is why it is always kept in kerosene. What is kerosene? You have seen kerosene? Yes, it is used for lighting lamps. It is a petroleum product. It is a peculiar smell. Another property is that the kerosene gets evaporated when it is exposed to air. Okay, that is always kept in a bottle with a strong lid. Okay, this is answer for the second question. Coming to third question. Give an example for basic oxide. How do you test it to show that it is basic? Sodium oxide, calcium oxide, magnesium oxide are some of the example of basic oxides. Can you have any other oxides like that? Yes. Yeah, acidic oxide. How do you get it? It is when non-metals react with oxygen, they form acidic oxide. Okay. Why they called acidic? Because when they dissolve in water, they form acids. Similarly, they are called basic oxides because they form alkalis. When these oxides, when dissolved in water, form alkalis. So they form alkalis. Look at the word alkali, A-L-K-A-L-I-E-S. And these alkalis change the color of red litmus to blue. They are changing color. Suppose blue become red, what do you call it? Acidic oxide, correct? So these are called basic oxides because they are nothing but metallic oxides. Is it alright? So don't think that only 3 are there. There are so many, more than 50 oxides you can have. Potassium oxide also you can have. Calcium oxide you can have. Okay. Chromium oxide you can have. Cobalt oxide you can have. All these oxides are basic in nature. Okay. These are the answers for the home assignment. Now let us come to today's topic. What about non-metals? About metals we have discussed. Non-metals. Non-metals like sulfur, phosphorus, carbon. So these are all solids. Sulfur is S, phosphorus is P, carbon is C, etc. react with air or oxygen to form respective oxides. And these oxides are called acidic oxides because when they dissolve in water, they form acids. How to test it? It can be tested by dipping blue litmus paper, which will turn red. What is litmus? It is an organic material. It gives distinctive color with acids and bases. For example, here, what is this device called? This is called gas jar. And this gas jar is fitted with a lid. There is a glass lid. And what is this spoon called? D spoon, deflagrating spoon. And what is yellow powder? Yellow powder is sulfur. And another form of D spoon, deflagrating. When it is introduced in a jar of oxygen, This sulfur burns, forming what is called as sulfur dioxide. Sulfur plus oxygen gives sulfur dioxide. What is the color? This yellow powder becomes blue in nature. One of the mysteries. Chemistry is full of mysteries. This is another mystery. And the smell of this sulfur dioxide is suffocating. You cannot smell it for a long time. Okay. And after that, if you pour water and test it with the litmus, what happens? The blue litmus becomes red. That is because it is an acidic oxide. Similarly, phosphorus forms phosphorus pentoxide, carbon forms carbon dioxide, and so on. About 22 are the non-metals. Most of them react with oxygen. Okay. So this is a reaction. It's a very interesting experiment. And you have to add water and test with the litmus, taking in a watch glass. Okay. One more example. So this is enlarged photo or enlarged image. So this is called gas jar. You have to pour water into it, and then you have to add, but take in a watch glass and put the litmus. This blue litmus becomes red in color. Okay. And similarly, you have if you take phosphorus, it forms phosphorus pentoxide, carbon dioxide, and so on. Now let us list out name of the base, and you must write metal. If it is calcium hydroxide, calcium is a metal. Suppose write sodium hydroxide. You note down, metal is called sodium. Calcium is Ca, sodium is Na, natrium. Similarly, if you take magnesium hydroxide, Magnesium, magnesium hydroxide. Its metal is called magnesium. Symbol Mg. Calcium, sodium, then you have potassium hydroxide. Potassium, Potassium, potassium hydroxide. That is a base. So the metal present here, it is potassium. Symbol is K. Calcium, sodium, potassium, magnesium, aluminum hydroxide or zinc hydroxide. Metal is zinc. So these are called metallic hydroxides, also called as alkalis, and these are the metals present in it. Similarly, if you take acidic oxides, they dissolve in acid, they form acids. Sulfuric acid. Then you have very famous three acids: hydrochloric acid, and the non-metal present is chlorine. Okay, then you have nitric acid. Nitric acid, the non-metal is nitrogen. Note down, done and there. Similarly, you have phosphoric acid. Come on, what is the non-metal here? Non-metal is phosphorus. Can you tell one more? Carbonic acid. Carbonic acid. Its formula is HCO3 and H2CO3. Carbonic acid. Its non-metal present is carbon. So these are the metals present in this metallic hydroxides. These are non-metal present in the acids. Okay. So when you take sulfur, when it burns in oxygen, it forms sulfur dioxide. It is a non-metal, and oxide is called acidic oxide. If this sulfur dioxide is added to water, it forms sulfurous acid. Then with more of oxygen, it becomes sulfuric acid. Similarly, all other things, first it forms oxides, then they dissolve in water to form acids. And how do you test these acids? That is by adding litmus paper. In case of acids, blue litmus becomes red. Correct? In case of base, it is red litmus become blue. So these are the things we have studied. Now reaction of metals with water. Already discussed about this. Here sodium is always kept in kerosene because it won't react with kerosene. So what you must do? The sodium which is kept, you should not use your hand. You must take spatula. Okay, or a spoon, steel spoon, and you dry it. Why you must dry it? Because it contains kerosene, and drop it into a trough containing water. What is trough? Something like a beaker, but big beaker. That is called trough. So when the water is there, in this water, cold water, a small piece of sodium is put on that using tongs, pair of tongs or spatula. It reacts vigorously, going all around with a hissing noise. And what does it produce? It produces hydrogen gas. So sodium burns vigorously in cold water with a hissing noise, forming sodium hydroxide, and hydrogen gas is evolved. And reaction is, the solution of sodium hydroxide in the trough is basic in nature, turns red litmus blue. It will be hot in nature. Why hot? Hot because it is exothermic reaction. What is exothermic? A reaction in which heat is evolved. It is called exothermic. So sodium plus water gives sodium hydroxide, NaOH, plus hydrogen gas. Gas should be always arrow mark up. Now if you balance is Na, Na, 2H, here there is 3H. So now make it 4H, 2O, 2O, 2Na, 2Na. This is a balanced equation. Sodium plus cold water gives sodium hydroxide plus hydrogen. How does it react? It reacts vigorously. Is it alright? Okay, note down this equation. It's a very, very important equation. Similarly, other metals also react with water. Some react with magnesium, reacts with hot water. Iron react with steam. So here are some interesting things. Most of the non-metals do not react with water. For example, phosphorus. What is phosphorus? Symbol is P. Phosphorus means I carry light. So that it shines in the night times. It is always kept in cold water. Why? Suppose it kept exposed, it catches fire of its own accord, forming phosphorus pentoxide. Phosphorus is P, oxygen is O2, gives phosphorus pentoxide is P2O5. If you balance it, you have 4P plus 5O2 gives 2P2O5. So what kind of oxide it is? It is acidic oxide. How do you know? Suppose you add some water to it and bring litmus, blue litmus, it becomes red. So phosphorus reacts with oxygen to form phosphorus pentoxide. That is why phosphorus is always kept in cold water. It should not be exposed. Okay. So this is another interesting equation as far as non-metals are concerned. Now let us see home assignment. Ramu burnt a piece of charcoal and collected the gas evolved in a test tube. How will he find the nature of the gas? Write down the word equations of all reactions take place in this process. Write the reaction of sodium with cold water. Phosphorus is kept in cold water. Why? Okay. Now shall we see the message of Bhagawan Baba? Bhagawan Baba Uvacha. Uvacha means tells. There is only one caste. By heart it. Caste of humanity. We may call in the daily life with so many names of caste. Baba says only one caste, that is caste of humanity. Only one religion, religion of love. What you call it, Hindu, Muslim, Christ, Parsi and all. But Baba says religion of love. Love is the basis for all that. Only one language. Language of the heart. Suppose you don't know, suppose you go to Orissa, they speak a Oriya language. If you go to West Bengal, they speak Bengali language. If you go to Tamil Nadu, they speak Tamil. But wherever you go, if you use the language of the heart, they can understand. Okay, only one God, He is omnipresent. We call by any name. Call by Ishvara, Allah, or Paigambar, and so on, Jesus and all. But He is omnipresent. He is within us all the time. So this is what Bhagawan Baba says. Very interesting, no? Okay, try to practice. And then try to answer the home assignment. Come prepared with the answers. Thank you.